This is Fearless Beauties, a podcast dedicated to developing voices of color in the beauty industry. We are talking to estheticians, skin specialists, and business owners to uncover best skin practices, tactical career tips, and ultimately, how we can create a better beauty industry together. I'm your host, Mary Nielsen.
And I'm your other host, Taylor Phillip.
Well, Taylor, I am so glad to be here with you as we move into season 2, episode 1 of the Fearless Beauties podcast.
Yes, I am so excited to be back. It's been, I don't know, could we say 6 months, I feel? I have no idea, but it feels like a long time.
It feels like a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and we have definitely, you were saying, we have been on opposite sides of the country, literally. You're in Oregon and I'm in Florida, and I think time has gotten away from us. You working at the school, me being a mom, a business owner, now doing my internship for psychology. So it's been a lot. It's been a doozy amongst COVID.
And we're surviving COVID. Yeah. Well, I thought it might be fun to just go back, if we have new listeners, to talk about how Fearless Beauties sort of came into existence and then how we connected.
Yeah, that would be great.
I always knew I wanted to be a nurse when I was growing up. My grandmother had worked in healthcare, and I just knew that that's what I wanted to do, probably from the time I was maybe 4 years old. And so I did go to nursing school and ended up working gradually through my career, a number of different places, but ended up working for a group of plastic surgeons, which is not me. If you see me, you will see that I don't wear makeup and I'm not really a high maintenance person at all. But I worked for these plastic surgeons and they wanted me to, it was in the late 1990s, talk about bringing some lasers into their practice and doing some advanced types of things beyond surgery, but more into skin rejuvenation kinds of things. And they were looking at it as a way to generate more income without having to bill an insurance company for some type of procedure they were doing. So they asked me to do the research, and I did. And I tell people I feel like little angels were just singing in my ears that this is what I wanted to do. So I went to aesthetic school because I thought that would be beneficial. And it turns out my aesthetics school experience was terrible. But that's all right. I did what I had to do to get the license. And then I worked for them for 14 years. And then I left them and I started my own med spa and had my own med spa for 10 years. And then I sold that and thought that I wanted to start a little training center. I thought it was just going to be like maybe people would come for continuing education. Mm-hmm. But it gradually evolved into a full-fledged licensed school. So now I'm in Portland with my school.
Long story short, yeah.
Long story short. Well, once I can go down rabbit holes like nobody's business.
And that is how Fearless Beauties was born.
Well, Fearless Beauties got started after we had the school and just our student population. We have, even though Portland is a more predominantly, it's a white city, but we were getting more and more students of color, and models who were coming in for services were people of color. We had a big transgender population that was coming in. We didn't have the curriculum or the education to really treat them well. And so we started researching ways to, how can we get better education, and just found out that corporate aesthetic education was really, really lacking. And so we created our own curriculum and did a couple of presentations, and that it just kind of blew up, where there was just such a need and such a hunger in the aesthetics community and in the beauty biz. And it just really opened up our eyes, or at least my eyes, right? It opened up my awareness. Also, Black Lives Matter, all that kind of, the political climate was just shifting. And, it's the thought that there's institutionalized racism everywhere in our culture, the banking industry, the education industry, the housing, everything. There's not different in the beauty industry. And then I was overwhelmed. And how did we get connected?
Well, I mean, if we really want to give the people the truth, I think my stepmom, Becky, connected us too. I had just had Lauren Bear back in 2019. Becky, my stepmom, told me, hey, I think you would be a great fit for Mary. And I was like, okay. And here I am, I would say 2.5 years later.
I know.
It honestly, that's just kind of how it happened. And then I just started getting into the social media part of Fearless Beauties, learning about its mission, what it's all about. And for those who don't know, I am a Black woman. And honestly, I grew up in predominantly white neighborhoods. Not saying that that's all I knew, but I was comfortable being the only Black girl in a room. And my parents, they never really taught me, oh, you're a Black woman. This is kind of what goes on in the world. So, watch out, be mindful, things like that. I never grew up with that mindset. I just always grew up of, okay, well, these are students. I never really saw color. And I think today, if I say that, it's pretty naive. It's like, girl, where have you been? But growing up in those suburban neighborhoods, there wasn't blatant racism. Like I just wasn't around it. So I had white friends, I had Asian friends, I had Latin friends. It just didn't matter. So now it's just crazy that I'm just learning about racism and like how bad it actually is once I met you, Mary. Like, to be honest with you, it's the truth. Like, I did not know all of it existed because I never experienced it. And just like hearing from my brother, who is a Black man, who's like, every time I get into a car, I always watch my back, or I know to talk to the police with respect, and I can't really say what's on my mind because of so and so. So that really started opening my eyes to, okay, yeah, so I'm a Black woman and I need to recognize that it's a lot of blatant racism out there. So that's definitely what made me so passionate about Fearless Beauties. It's just how unapologetic you are about the mission. And I think it kind of stems like way out past the beauty industry. Like, we are hitting all types of industries that I don't even think we know we're hitting. And it's just like we're pointing out the problem, we're educating, and we're also inspiring others to acknowledge everyone. And then we take it to another level by we're highlighting the entrepreneurs of color in the beauty industry. And I think that is so amazing. I just think I'm passionate about the mission because we're all about positive change. And it's really incredible to witness the change that we have already made with spreading awareness on the importance of inclusivity. So yeah, I'm just really happy to be here.
I mean, Fearless Beauties plus other, right? It's not just us, but there's other people out there and organizations out there and companies out there that have also become aware and are truly trying to make some positive changes, just even with greater representation and creating greater visibility. And so I think we just have to keep like chipping away at it. I was looking at some new curriculum. I'm looking at bringing in some new curriculum for us. And I ordered just a sample, and the difference in 3 years, the difference in the discussion about skin and the graphics that they use is just incredible. And so that really makes me happy to see that. because I've said I would love it if Fearless Beauties didn't exist.
Yeah,
Say
you've been
Fearless
saying
Beauties
that.
doesn't exist because there is that equality and that level of representation. I think as a white woman, I've had a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I have had that. I recently, though, I'm telling you, I just got a new car and I'm so happy with it. My husband and I went to look at an electric car. We come in the dealership. The salesman comes. Can I help you? Yes, we're interested in an electric car.
Mm-hmm.
My husband says, it's for my wife. She's going to be driving it. Oh, okay. So the guy, he brings one out. We get in. I test drive it. My husband sits in the back seat with the salesman next to me. I test drive the car.
Mm-hmm.
We come back to the dealership. We say, okay, we talk about pricing. Okay, we're going to buy this electric car. Okay, we need to fill out this paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
The salesman, all right, can I get your income? My husband says, I have no income. My husband is retired, but he is not drawing retirement or Social Security or anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's we're trying to make it till he's 70 so he can maximize his benefits. So anyway, we are living on my income only, which I say we're living on my income only. I'm the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The guy fills out the paperwork, everything. We get the car, all right? We start getting emails. Actually, I don't. He gets a text from the dealership. How do you like your car?
Your husband?
Yes.
Wow.
He gets an email from the dealership. Oh, we've set up the Sirius radio in my husband's name, in my husband's email address is connected to the VIN number of the car. I can't turn on the frickin' radio in my own car.
Yep.
And I was so mad. Oh, the car payments, who are they addressed to?
Seriously?
Seriously. So I sent them this is a big problem for me. You knew that I test drove the car. You knew that on the income paperwork, my husband's income is 0. And now I can't even access the radio in my own car because you've set it up in his email address. This is a problem and you better learn how to serve women because, I was so mad.
Definitely some gender inequalities there.
Yes, sorry, it was a long story, but I'm still mad because he gets the email. So I have to say, honey, you're going to get a code sent to your email. Can you tell me what it is so that I can then program the radio in my car? And I try to change it and it won't let me change it because they've attached his email address to the VIN number of the car.
It's almost like they disregarded you as the breadwinner because it's like, how could she be?
Exactly.
Yeah,
but I feel like, that's a minor issue compared to people of color that I know have dealt with situations like that through their whole life.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yep. Not saying that I haven't experienced any inequality, but not to the extent that I think most people are looking to hear about. So no, I haven't experienced any blatant racism. I keep saying that word, but there may have been some subtle things, but nothing to where I was like, oh yeah, you're definitely treating me different because I'm Black. Like, yep, definitely. But no, I've never experienced that. But when it comes to the beauty industry, I remember I think I've said this to you before, Mary, but even back when I was starting to wear makeup because I had severe acne, I was using Proactive, like I feel everyone was, and my mom took me to Walmart to get my first batch of foundation. I believe it was Maybelline, and they only had 3 shades for the darker spectrum, right? I feel like that is nothing new. There was like a cocoa, a mocha, and like a dark chocolate. I think those were the names. And it was just, there was no color that matched me. So what did I do? I had to basically wear a color that was lighter than me, because the one that was darker was just too dark. And then I believe I think my first facial I ever had, I would say 3-4 years ago, I got the facial done. And I believe last season we talked about, what should be on the consultation forms, like what type of questions you should ask. And I remember on that form, they basically filled out like if you're allergic to anything. And that was basically it. And I don't even think it was that. But I remember walking into the room and she didn't even ask me like, is your skin sensitive? Like, what's going on with your skin here? There was no prepping of the skin. It was just administering generalized treatments. Like she had her batch of cleansers and toners and what have you that she just used on everyone. So long story short, did I notice any difference to my skin? No, I just got a facial. So I think that's something that's, lacking.
But it's almost like they put things that are so inactive that nobody is going to have a reaction to it. So, I feel like it's, sorry, I have to say, just rub some Crisco on it and there you go. That would...
Yeah, basically, I think my skin was like kind of baby smooth for like a day and then it just went back to normal. So that's that. I don't think I've gotten a facial since then, but now I know what a facial should be like for a woman of color. And it's different for Latin women and men. It's different for Black men and women, Asian men and women, South Asian men and women. Is different for everyone.
What I would like to see education's kind of shifting to is sort of talking at every school, talking about beyond that skin of color is more than just melanin, and you have to really dive into different cultures and what their beliefs are and what their culture is like. Even though every person is an individual, and you growing up now 27-year-old Black woman is going to have different experiences from another 27-year-old Black woman. There are certain specializations that I would love to see aesthetic schools teaching so that their students come out stronger. Just come out stronger and can make an impact, because the beauty industry is multi-billion-dollar industry, and women have a lot, and I say women because it's mostly women, but there's a lot of potential for earning power and for empowerment and for growth as a person. And, just there's so much in the beauty industry, different avenues you can go down. But if you didn't get a strong education, you're just going to struggle that much more to get your feet on the ground. Well, tell me how you knew you wanted to get into psychology.
Well, that's a great question. So I started, of course, right out of high school. You're like, oh, I want to be this, this, and this. And I think I always wanted to be a psychologist. Did I know why exactly? No. I was 18 and I was like, I think I just like talking to people, and people like, I feel like a lot of people can say that people always tell them, oh, you're just so easy to talk to. I feel like I could tell you my whole life story. So I kind of just ran with that compliment, and I'm like, oh, I think I can be good in psychology. And I think it was senior year of high school. I took my first psychology course, and I just fell in love with the mind. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just incredible to me. So I was just always interested in helping others become the best version of themselves. And I know that it all starts with a good mental health. So I decided to study psychology, which is the study of the mind. Literally 5 days after graduating from UCF, which is a school here in Orlando, Florida, I started my master's degree. Honestly, I started learning more about multicultural psychology. And that is when I was like, oh yeah, like the one big thing in psychology is cultural competence. And what that means is it's the knowledge and acceptance of all cultural orientations, whether that be race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, and it's basically providing equal treatment, equal but different treatment to all cultures. And that is basically what Fearless Beauties is. It's providing that education to everyone. It's including everyone. So I started becoming more interested in like multicultural psychology and how I can basically treat anyone that comes through my door. Like, they don't have to be Black. They can be, transgender. They can be an immigrant. You know what I mean? They could be anyone. And I have the education to treat them all. So I think that's kind of how psychology, my experience in psychology and my interest in psychology kind of mesh with Fearless Beauties. So
yeah, I am looking forward to this season because I actually expect to be able to transition in Alina and transition myself out.
You're always looking for a way out.
No, I just feel like my role should be background support and should be, because the intent is to get those stories out there and get that information out there. And I think that's the way to create greater diversity and inclusivity and just make the organization stronger, I guess.
Well, I think that is the first episode. I mean, it was about getting personal. I could say that we got a little bit personal.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to what this season has to offer. I'm so excited. I hope you all are excited. And I guess we'll see you in the next episode. I guess we can plug in our social medias. You can follow us on social media on Instagram at Fearless Beauties, Facebook at Fearless Beauties, also fearlessbeauties.org. Also on our Instagram, if you just click the link in our bio, there's like a plethora of education, knowledge, multicultural education out there. You have our certification, online certification, our podcast, of course, our downloadable Fearless Beauties book, the workbook. Anything else?
Well, they can get a link to some of our ambassadors. We have some great supporters out there and find out more about them.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's it.
Thank you for listening to Fearless Beauties, a show dedicated to elevating voices of color in the beauty industry. I'm your host, Mary Nielsen.
And I'm your other host, Taylor Phillip. Until next time, keep educating yourself, remember to stay open, and be fearless in the pursuit of creating a better, more inclusive world.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Special thanks to my co-host Taylor and our producers at Quill Inc.